All right, welcome back to the Explainer. So for our next chapter, Chapter 11, we are tackling something that's literally surrounding us every single second of the day, but we can't even see it. We're talking about sound. We're going to trace the entire journey of a sound wave. We'll look at exactly how it's born in the physical world, how it actually travels through the environment around us, and ultimately, we're going to watch it compete in this massive speed race against the fastest thing in the universe. Okay, let's just dive right into this with a question I'm sure you've thought about during a bad storm. Why in the world do we see that huge flash of lightning way before we actually hear the crash of thunder? It's kind of a universal mystery, right? Well, the answer comes down to the actual mechanics of how sound works compared to what we see. But to really get that, we need to go back to the very beginning of the journey. We have to figure out how a sound is actually made.
Section 1. The origin of sound.
So, sections 11.1 and 11.2 cover the production and propagation of sound. Just think about all the normal noises you hear every day. You know, birds singing outside your window, a radio playing in the background, or just people talking on the TV. We are absolutely bathed in these sounds. But what is actually happening physically inside that bird's throat or inside your TV speaker to create that experience? Well, it all comes down to this one crucial concept: vibration. Our text defines a vibration as a speedy to and fro movement. And guys, this is literally the engine of all sound. Without this super fast back and forth physical movement, whether it's a drum skin, a guitar string, or even a surface, there is absolutely no sound, period. To really nail this concept down, the textbook gives us a fantastic visual experiment. I want you to picture the energy here. Imagine taking a regular speaker and putting tiny little pieces of polystyrene, like styrofoam, right on top of the speaker cone. Now, what happens when you hook that speaker up to a battery? Those little pieces are violently thrown up into the air, they're bouncing everywhere, and why? Because that speaker cone is doing exactly what we just talked about, that speedy to and fro movement, it's vibrating. The physical force of that vibration is enough to literally launch those pieces into the air. It's just a brilliant way to actually see the invisible energy of sound creation. Section 2, traveling through matter. Now, matter isn't just the invisible air around us. The source text gives us some really cool real-world examples of how sound travels through solids and liquids too. First off, think about a doctor using a stethoscope. The membrane on that tool actually vibrates to the sounds of your heart and lungs, and that vibration travels all the way up to the doctor's ears. Or look at history. People used actual sound pipes in ships, huge buildings, and even deep mines to propagate sound across massive distances. And here's a classic one. Actually, wait, the text points out this is super risky, so definitely don't try it, but if you press your ear to a steel railway line, you can clearly hear a train coming long before you'd ever hear it through the air. Why? Because sound actually travels way faster through solids than it does through the air. Section 3, the speed foot race. Okay, look at the massive contrast in these numbers here. When sound travels through a gas, like regular air, it moves at a pretty respectable 330 meters per second. But watch what happens when it hits a liquid like water. The speed jumps to 1,500 meters per second. That's huge. And if that vibration enters a solid block of steel, boom, it rockets to an unbelievable 4,500 meters per second. So the physical state of the material completely dictates the speed limit of the sound wave. It is astronomically faster in solid steel than in gas. And this brings us right back to our opening question, because despite those massive speeds, even through solid steel, sound is basically in a permanent foot race with light, and spoiler alert, it always loses. The text uses two perfect examples. During a thunderstorm, the lightning and the thunder actually happen at the exact same time. But because sound is so much slower than light, we see the flash instantly, and then we have to wait a few seconds for the boom to catch up. Same exact physics apply on a battlefield. If a cannon is fired, the smoke and the boom happen simultaneously. But if you're standing far away, you're going to see that puff of smoke first, and then hear the boom a few seconds later. The visual always beats the audio. Which kind of leaves us with a pretty profound thought as we wrap up this explainer. Everything we've looked at today proves that our senses are processing events on a delay, all based on the physics of vibrations and what they're traveling through. So, it really makes you wonder if our eyes and our ears are perceiving the exact same event at totally different speeds. What else in our everyday reality are we missing or, perceiving totally out of sync? Definitely something to chew on as you go about your day. Thanks so much for joining me for this chapter explainer, and keep your curiosity tuned for the next one.